Hello, everyone. My name is Carrie Potter. I'm here with Abby Mars today. We are both educational support coaches with Family Matters Parent Training and Information Center. We appreciate you taking time out of your day um, to join us for this webinar. We're going to talk about transition and beginning with an end in mind. Really just want to cover kind of like step by step in preparing for transition. Starting in kindergarten, a lot of times we think of transition as something that starts at 14 and a half in Illinois, but really you can start um, as young as preschool or kindergarten. And I mean, it's never too soon to start. So we're going to cover a lot of information about that today. Then Abby has put up a poll. And so it looks like a lot of you are filling that out. So I'll give you a second to do that.
So it looks like of our audience today, our most answered is the ages ranges from 16 to 21, so typical transition age years. We do have some 3 to 5ers, which is great. So we're thinking about early on transition. And our second one is a 12 to 16, and a few that are over the 22 age. So that's great. Go ahead, Carrie.
All right. Okay, so I do have to say that Family Matters is not a legal services agency. We don't provide any form of legal advice or legal representation, and any information received from Family Matters is not intended as legal advice and should not be used as such or substitution for legal advice. I also want to make clear that the contents of this PowerPoint were developed under a grant from the U.S. Department of Education. However, those contents do not necessarily represent the policy of the U.S. Department of Education, and you should not assume endorsement by the federal government. As far as Family Matters goes, we are not able to offer CEUs for training participants, but certificates of attendance can be requested by contacting us via email. And then kind of wanted to cover a little bit briefly about what is it that Family Matters offers as far as services. If you've contacted our office, you've probably talked to Abby or myself. We offer an education advocacy helpline. So if you contact us as a parent, a caregiver, a professional, or even a self-advocate, you would be transferred to Abby or myself to discuss your concerns further. We help parents, self-advocates, basically anybody who calls with concerns kind of understand the special education process, things like that. We offer an educational surrogate parent program. There is information on that on our website. Abby, do you want to add anything about that?
So for one, I'm super happy to see in our audience attendance today several of our ESPs. That's always makes me very happy to see that. So the Educational Surrogate Parent Program serves students in the state of Illinois who have been found eligible or could possibly be eligible under the referral process for special education services and who are within the care of the state. So DCFS has custody of them. Um, the ESP program will then assign them an educational surrogate parent. So you do that by volunteering, taking a very long training with me to learn all the ins and outs, and then you are possibly signed up to be an ESP. So for more information about that, we have a whole page on the website dedicated to ESP. So
All right, thank you, Abby. Compass is another training series that we're offering that kicks off this week. We've kind of changed the approach to that. If you're familiar with VAP or the Volunteer Advocacy Program or project, we've just kind of renamed that program. We're offering it as a virtual pre-recorded series now. So if you're interested in that, you still may have a little bit of time to sign up before that first session kicks off. We kind of cover everything from like the history of special education, behaviors, IEPs, transition, all kinds of different topics, unauthorized practice of law. But it's just kind of a learn at your own pace rather than being at a computer at a certain time on a certain day every week. You have that whole week to kind of fit that recorded training in. So you can check that out. That's accessible, I think, on our Facebook and different places. We've advertised that. Emails have went out about that as well. We also have Daisy. I was trained in a Daisy curriculum. and it is a family data leaders training that focuses on parents or caregivers of children between birth to 5. We typically offer that in the summer, so be looking for that if you're interested. It really kind of focuses on teaching families the importance of data, how you can not only use data to make changes for your own individual child, but also more system wide or on a bigger level as well. We offer special education advocacy trainings. We offer self-advocate video blogs. Those can be accessed on our website. You'll see advertisements on our Facebook when those are updated on the website. We also have quarterly newsletter and news blast and monthly podcasts. All of that information should be posted on our Facebook and updated on our website as well. So definitely be looking for all of that great information. So today we want to talk about, we're hoping what you learn is to understand the importance of early transition planning. We hope that you'll learn how to identify grade-specific milestones for transition preparation. You're going to discover strategies, for fostering self-advocacy skills and also explore community and extracurricular opportunities. So, Abby, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, so let's just talk a little briefly about what transition is. So transition, like the definition is that transition is a planning, it is the process of preparing a student with a disability for life after high school. Now, that's going to be individualized for every single student. No students are the same when it comes to their transition plan. But the importance of the plan is that it ensures the students have the skills, resources, and supports needed for adult lifehood. So, transition planning is really, I think, in my opinion, the best part of school. Okay, so we've done all this work up until this point, and now we're going to really show our student how to apply it to their life as an adult. So it's a really big pivotal movement for our student to own their educational process. So we really like to take examples from Charting the Life course to explain the importance of individualizing every type of plan for a student. So when we're talking about starting our transition planning, which I'm a big believer that transition starts the first day of kindergarten, and Carrie will talk about that in the next slide, are going to think about things like what our student may envision for their self and how we can help them get as close to that vision as possible with the support from their family, from their school, from their friends, and from their community. Go ahead, Carrie.
All right. So like Abby said, she's a firm believer that transition starts early on. I'm the same. I have a now adult child who's had a disability since birth. She is 23, so we've been through everything from, you know, learning about her at birth and her needs, and kind of watching her grow, transition from early intervention to um, early childhood, kindergarten, all of that. So in my mind, I always kind of looked at how can I work on her independence. My goal was for her to be as independent as possible. And so I was always trying to look at how can I increase that independence based on where she's at. What can I, give to her? That can be kind of hard as a parent, definitely. But, a lot of times we think of transition as at an older age. As far as IEPs and things like that, but you can start working on helping your child get ready for transition early on rather than waiting until 14 and a half. So it's really important to look at development of communication skills. How does my child communicate, encouraging them to communicate their wants, needs in whatever method of communication they use. Building routines and responsibilities. Um, looking for in your child's routine and your family routine at school, wherever, what responsibilities can you give that child? You may start with them picking out their clothing and thinking about talking through what is the weather like today? Do you really want to wear shorts on a really cold day? Things like that, giving them some choices. And then fostering that self-confidence is important too. Encouraging them in making decisions, and supporting them in those decisions. And then, it could be like simple choices as far as activities, selecting a snack or activity. I remember when my daughter was younger, I might If I asked a more open-ended question, she probably wasn't going to give me an answer at that point in time. But if I said, "Do you want tacos or do you want soup for supper?" She was probably going to tell me the first thing I offered her, tacos, but still, like, you're working on giving that choice. And then over time, that grew to where she really could make a decision and not just give me back the first option that I gave her. Um, and those activities can be done at home or at school. I do want to go over an example. So we talked about charting the life course. Charting the life course is something we're starting to use a lot more with our own children, but also through work and trying to introduce families to it. So charting the life course, you can check out their website. It's included in this presentation. But we want to discuss how a family used Charting the Life course and their integrated support star handout to identify natural supports like grandparents teaching daily routines at home. So a family used the Charting the Life course integrated support star to map out their natural supports for their child transitioning to middle school, we'll say. Um, they identified grandparents as a critical natural support by noting how they help with daily homework routines and reinforce social skills through weekend outings. And additionally, the family recognized their child's older sibling as a natural support, which often is typical. That older sibling provided guidance on using public transportation or for extracurricular activities. And this process really helped the family see how these natural supports complemented formal supports like the child's IEP team and after school programs, and really created a well rounded plan for transition.
So let's talk about what we can do from third to fifth grade. I know this seems like we're kind of jumping a lot of, we started at kindergarten and now we're on to third and fifth, right? Did I skip one? No. Okay, we're good.
Nope.
Okay. So like Carrie said, we have started to introduce some routines for our students. So this might be independent living routines, like Carrie said, like picking out what they want for dinner, brushing their teeth on a regular basis, helping even to pick out things they want at the grocery store. From those routines, we're going to start to introduce some goal setting. So, can you brush your teeth every morning? Can you brush your teeth every evening? We're going to start to build and introduce those goal settings for our students to help them understand what it means like to achieve a goal. It helps build awareness of their strengths and their needs. So, for example, my daughter might say to me, I can always remember to brush my teeth in the morning, but I really struggle at nighttime. And then I can help her identify what's different about the nighttime environment compared to the morning where she's having that struggle to remember. So discussing the strengths and challenges as a family, and it puts it in student friendly terms to where they understand. Now, this is really important because when we get to that eighth, ninth grade mark, they're part of their IEP team. Like they're officially in that meeting. If you're like me, they came a lot earlier than that, but they got to be there by age 14 and a half, right? So we really focused on introducing these terms to our kids early. So goals, progress. So they start to get um, familiar with that. Another great thing to do is to start a portfolio of interests and accomplishments for your student. So our example from Charting the Life course, let's break this down a little bit different. So Anna's a young adult. She's in fifth grade, and she has autism. So Anna's a young adult with autism in fifth grade, and she loves animals. That's her thing. She likes to watch animals on YouTube. She likes to color pictures of animals, everything animals, 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 especially mammals. Like she's crazy about mammals, maybe even a certain type of mammal. You've noticed this as her parent, as her support person, or as her teacher because she lights up when you talk about going to the zoo, or she really likes doing certain projects that surround animals. So we're going to start to think about this as animals are Anna things. She's shown this by saying, "I love animals. I like to do this. I'll do my work if there's an animal attachment award, all this stuff." How can we change that into something for Anna that will support her as she grows to be a more independent adult? So mom or dad or grandma or grandpa at the IEP meeting has mentioned this, the teacher said, "Oh, I see this too. I know I tell her if she completes her writing assignment that she can watch 10 minutes of YouTube animals, she'll do it." We are recognizing very naturally that Anna has an interest. She has something she really loves, and she's able also to be motivated to complete tasks that she doesn't prefer to do with using animals. So this is a great natural way of showing how Anna has something that she's interested in that can build. So we might also start at this point thinking about how can Anna spend more time with animals? What could the school offer me that Anna could do related to animals? Is there a community organization that could help Anna with her animal love? Could she volunteer at a local dog shelter or pet setting place? Could she join a club like 4-H where she can have, I'm more of a Boy Scouter here, so she can have more things to do with animals with 4-H. So there's lots of things we can start to think about and develop. And as we're setting up that IEP team, we can talk about this because extracurricular activities and community-based activities are very important later on when we're building that transition plan. Go ahead, Carrie.
Okay, and like Abby had mentioned, it may be helpful for a student to use a portfolio or create one. That's something parents, caregivers, family members, IEP team members can help with. I will say we do have a great webinar on digital storytelling and how to use that to create like kind of a digital story for a student to be able to share what their goals are, their interests, their concerns, things like that. That's one way that a student could approach making kind of a portfolio more in a using technology. There's lots of different ways to do it, but that's something that's archived on our website if you would like to check that out. So we talked about kindergarten, we've talked about third grade to fifth grade range. Now we're going to talk about like sixth to eighth grade range, that junior high range. I think it's always important to look on developing independence, even from little on. We kind of talked about like giving students that chance to, develop independence, make choices. So, as students get older, you might look at building on how to develop that independence. You may go from, choosing a snack in kindergarten to maybe involving students more in what kind of accommodations they think would support them in school, and just looking for ways to increase independence and maybe navigating the school. How could you teach a student to navigate the school if they struggle with getting from classroom A to B, that transition? How could you look at developing that independence and teaching those skills? Also teaching basic self-advocacy skills is helpful. Again, talking about accommodations, involving students in goal writing, looking at what accommodations do they think may help them. Understood.org has great resources on lists of accommodations for certain types of diagnosis or disabilities. You may look for a different kind of a list and go over those with a student and ask them, what do you think would help you? And involve them in that decision-making process, and then talk about the importance of requesting those accommodations and working on those skills. So that's something that you could think about. You could do activities like role-playing, self-advocacy scenarios with a student. Sometimes that can be helpful just to kind of give them that experience and that practice so that they're a little more comfortable when it comes to advocating for themselves. Kind of show them different approaches that you can take to self-advocacy. Also, students exploring extracurricular activities and clubs. This is kind of an age where you start looking into some of those things. So looking at what's available, is there something that piques their interest that they may want to be involved in, kind of what time commitment that would take, just really exploring those options that are available to them. So let's look at a student interested in technology. So we want to talk about Ethan. He's a 15-year-old student with a learning disability. He's always had a knack for technology, so he loves tinkering with gadgets at home and has spent hours coding simple video games on his laptop. His teachers and parents have noticed his passion, but Ethan struggles with finding ways to connect his interest with real-world experiences. So during an IEP meeting, Ethan's transition goals were discussed, and his mom mentioned that he had been talking about wanting to build cool stuff. The school counselor suggested using Charting the LifeCourse and using specifically the life experiences worksheet to dive deeper into Ethan's interest and to identify opportunities for growth. So he's saying he wants to build cool stuff, but we want to know more about what kind of stuff is Ethan interested in building. We don't just want to assume certain things. So with his parents and counselor guiding him, Ethan was able to fill out that worksheet, the Charting the LifeCourse worksheet, and they encouraged him to think about what he really loved doing and what made him feel confident and what new experiences he might want to try. So he said he enjoyed solving problems, building things, learning how machines worked. Things he wanted to try were working with a team to create something amazing like a robot or a high-tech gadget. So using that Charting the Life course worksheet really helped him kind of find some specific interests, like what he really enjoys. They were able to identify and then really lock down some things he wanted to try. So as they reviewed the worksheet, Ethan's counselor suggested looking into the school's robotic clubs or robotics club. And at first, Ethan hesitated. He was worried about fitting in and keeping up with the other students, which many students we see have concerns like, how am I going to fit in? This is a new social situation. Am I comfortable with this? He was worried about a lot of things. So to ease his concerns, the counselor and his mom talked to the club advisor. So there was some communication that happened. They were thrilled to welcome Ethan and they offered to pair him with a peer mentor to help him learn the ropes to make it more comfortable. And then once he joined, his confidence began to grow. He started working on small projects like programming a robot to follow simple commands. He used Charting the Life course tools with his family and teachers to help him set short term goals like attending club meetings regularly. So you want to focus on, that organization, time management, keeping a calendar, and presenting his work at the school's tech showcase. So through this experience, Ethan didn't just build a robot. He built a sense of belonging. He, worked on building new social relationships with peers. And working with the club helped him develop problem solving skills, teamwork skills, um, which his IEP team recognized, and those were critical skills for his transition plan. So, this example really shows how a simple tool like Charting the Life course can really help students align their passions with real life opportunities while building their confidence and working on building those transition skills.
Okay, I'm going to launch our next poll. So while that is going, I'm going to go ahead and get reading. So we're in high school now, our favorite time of our life, right? So we're going to talk about ninth to 10th grade, break this down a little bit. So this is where we really start to explore career focused interests. So, like Carrie said, joining certain clubs and organizations can help students explore opportunities for career interests. So, for example, Scouts USA, formerly Boy Scouts of America, have a lot of trades driven merit badges like robotics, like Carrie just talked about, or God, everything, plumbing, welding, you name it. 4-H does the same type of similar. They have more career focused requirements and advancements that you can do. Different types of athletic clubs might teach students responsibility, organization, how to maintain body health. So this is a great time to really think about that. What would my student enjoy? And you can use the Charting the Life course support star to really determine what your student might like, despite what kind of support needs your students may have. For a student that's non-speaking, you as a family can sit down with that student, and as a family, and as the professionals working with the students, different things they've showed interest in or that they like better, and we can think about how we can transition those into career focuses. And this can be hard, definitely hard, even for our students that don't have as much support needs. So let's talk about the student that we're going to give the example of. So this particular student is a freshman in high school, and he loves maps. He likes to sit and look at maps, draw maps, gauge distances with maps, just copy and trace maps all the time. And his mom, me, this is my kid I'm talking about, she's noticed this, right? But I don't know what type of career would go along with map making. Like, he's a savant at it. He loves to do this. I know there's a cartography, but is cartography still a thing with computers? I don't know. So I, as Ethan's support person in an IEP meeting, in condition and in correlation with his transition coordinator, his special education coordinator, talked about this and said, how can we turn this into some type of career goal? The most unlikeliest person sparked this huge, great idea. Okay, so um, the local ag teacher at the high school, had been watching Ethan copy all these maps forever while he was in the hallway, or all of the things. And he asked to come to the IEP meeting. Now, Ethan didn't take any ag classes. He doesn't like animals. He doesn't like dirt. Nothing like that. But the most unlikely person didn't even serve my student, just seen in the hallway passing him that they had an interest in this area, comes to the IEP meeting. And as we're discussing this, he says, "Have you thought about surveying?" I don't even know what surveying is, right? So he tells me, he talks about it, and we're like, "Oh my gosh." And then I Google it, and there's a merit badge for that. So I'm all over it at this point, you know? So this is a great example about every single person at that table is a valued member of the team. So he was not even there as to serve the purpose of the general education teacher. He just saw a student that had this huge interest in this area and had, spoken to his teachers and all the things. So really, even the smallest thing that your kid shows super great interest in could develop into some type of career path. Don't dismiss it as just, yeah, my kid likes ships, or yeah, my kid likes to be on the computer. Yeah, my kid likes video games. Guys, I can't tell you how much money video game designers make, right? So just keep that in your mind. My oldest son has very high support needs, and his thing has always been YouTube and watching Veggie Tales. And we have learned to take that and turn it into career focus for him. So there's a way to do it, and using the example with that support star can really be helpful to narrow down what those are. So again, we're gonna talk about attending career fairs to see what type of different activities and interests there might be. We also might want to volunteer in our area of interest. So, like we talked about Anna earlier, she really liked animals. Can Anna volunteer somewhere to learn more about what it's like working with animals? Maybe she really, really loves dogs. When she finds out she has to go clean up after them all day long to be a veterinarian, that might not be a career path that she wants to have. So it's like volunteering. I think we have a whole presentation done on how volunteering turns into vocational skills, but it's huge there. Don't forget too the job shadowing. Once Ethan decided, oh yeah, surveying sounds fun. We found a surveyor that he could go and job shadow for the day, and now he's like, oh, I get to be by myself all day and nobody bothers me, and I do my job. Yes, this is something I want to do. The downfall of that is that he recently met with a surveyor that goes to Antarctica for like 4 months out of the year. So now he's decided that's what he wants to do. So I'm kind of panicking with that one. Um, but even the smallest, I mean, it's really focuses back on, guys, that this transition plan is our students. And it focuses on what they want and how we can help them achieve their goals, even when we don't think it's possible. So I'm like, I love that he loves maps, but should we be discouraging this? Because there's no career where he could be a map reader. Like we're not in the Lewis and Clark days anymore. But the smallest, I never even would have thought. I've never even met the ag teacher to come to his IEP meeting, and I walk in and he's sitting there, and I'm like, I wonder why this guy's here. So even the smallest little thing can turn into something that you, as the support person, never even thought about. And it's all that support star really helps with that, because then the whole team can focus on, okay, Ethan likes maps. How can we get him to where he needs to go? All right, Carrie.
All right, do you want to cover this poll, or looks like the question was, I have received information from my child's school or for teachers, professionals, or professional adult development on
Mm-hmm.
these topics. Um, so
I love that.
related
I
to,
love with the puns and independent service
yeah,
coordination. That's great that so many people have received information. Guardianship and supportive decision making is wonderful. SSI and Medicaid are both very hard to navigate. And vocational and rehabilitation and community employment. So these are great that you guys have received a lot of these supports. And of course, healthcare and adult providers also. So this is wonderful. So thanks for answering these polls. Our website on the transition section does have information about each one of these categories. Some of these are links to other organizations that do it better and have better information than we can provide you. So keep that in your mind. But there is lots of information about all of this on our website.
yeah, we always try to refer on to places that have, really good information, because sometimes on some of these topics like Medicaid, Social Security, things like that, that's definitely not our area of expertise. We know enough to help lead you to the right direction, but can't give you all the ins and outs of those processes. So we want to move on and talk about high school, from 11th to 12th grade. So this is kind of the last couple of years of high school for some students. Some with IEPs will stay in longer beyond 12th grade. Depending on their needs and their IEP, what their IEP team determines is appropriate for them. But when you are in like 11th, 12th grade, you really want to focus on refining goals for post-secondary education, for employment, independent living. What is that student's level of like what are they interested in? Are they interested in living at home, living independently? Are they interested in going to college, trade school? Do they want to go straight to employment? Really trying to refine those goals. What do they want to do after high school? You may practice job applications and interviews at that point in time. Activities may be creating a resume or participating in work based learning opportunities. Abby mentioned that volunteering can be really helpful. In my own experience with my own child from the time she was probably 3, um, probably based on having a lot of medical history. She wanted to be a doctor. You could not tell her any otherwise that that's what she wanted to do, but she does not like math. Math was not her strong point. She does not like needles or germs, but she wanted to be a doctor. And one of the things was looking for I could talk to her about the work hours, the college it would take, that you have to be good at math, you have to do all these things. Um, but that was what she wanted. So, we did talk to her IEP team about like what kind of job shadowing work-based learning opportunity could she have. She job shadowed the school nurse and realized that she got to practice, with somebody as her patient. And from that moment on, she was like, I do not want to do that. I don't like blood. I don't like needles. I don't want to touch people. They might have germs. Like it pretty much, she had that experience. We could talk to her all day long about what it would take. But until she had that job shadowing or work based kind of learning opportunity, that's what changed her mind. She changed her own mind based on an experience she had. Um, but those volunteer opportunities that she had earlier on in high school did end up leading to a job. I think the bottom line was we found out that she had been helped a lot by people throughout her life, and she liked to be able to help people. And so she does have a job now that she loves that has nothing to do with the medical field. And she takes her job very seriously and loves it. But you've got to look at, what is that student's goals? She thought she may want to go to college, but then she realized, that was her goal. We set her up in high school to take courses and things like that to help her um in case she did. Like she took biology, which was heavily modified, things like that. She took all the, gen ed classes with her peers, pretty much with the exception of math. Um, and really looked at, preparing for college and things like that, but then ended up not going that route. And she made her own decisions, and that's great. We did use, I didn't know about Charting the Life course at the time, but we did use a lot of person centered planning to kind of let her lead her IEP meetings and share her experiences and what she wanted. You will see there is a document on the screen for Charting the Life course. This is one of many of the tools they have that are great for helping students kind of navigate and take charge of their lives.
All right, let's talk about some self advocacy across all grades. So, this is starting from kindergarten on up. So, I think self advocacy is one of the most important things we can teach our students from kindergarten until they leave, even preschool if your kiddo's participating in preschool services. So we here at Family Matters often refer to our students as self advocates for a reason. We are helping them navigate this path until they are an adult, and then they need to navigate this path as independently as possible. So we want to teach our students to express our needs, include students in their IEP meetings or 504 meetings very early on, and participate in decision making skills. So, for example, we're going to talk about Mia. Mia is a student with ADHD. She often struggles to stay organized and focused in class. While her IEP includes accommodations like extended time on assignments and quiet space for tests, she's felt unsure about how to ask for these supports, so she hasn't been using them. When Mia's mom contacted this classroom teacher, the classroom teacher simply stated Mia has to ask for these accommodations in order for them to be effective. So we've missed a step here, guys. We've provided Mia with some excellent accommodations that will probably help her to achieve her goal of success. But we forgot to teach Mia how to use these accommodations, how to ask for these, and how to get those supports. So I think it's important that we do these things. We can put 250 accommodations in an IEP, but if our student doesn't know how to ask for them or why they're important, they're not going to be effective. I learned something from a middle school teacher my first year here at Family Matters, talking about accommodations. A lot of the times our kids are a little too embarrassed to ask for their accommodations in the classroom. And I understand that. We have to, as people with disabilities, learn that our disability is not a setback. We just have to do things a little differently than others, and we have to build that confidence. I was a kid that you couldn't pay me money to ask for my 504 accommodations in school. I would rather fail an assignment than leave the room to get a test read out loud to me. And I did that a lot. And then when my own kiddo started going through that process, I felt for him, but I also wanted to see him achieve success. So I had a teacher, very small little town in Southern Illinois, say when my student needs their accommodation, they put a post-it note on their desk, and only him and I know what that post-it note needs, and I make sure that we take care of the accommodation privately so he doesn't feel singled out. So there's ways to do this. There's ways to think about it. We first need to show Mia you're you are disorganized for something that you cannot help. You're not bad. You're not doing anything wrong. Your mind simply works different. And to level the playing field, we're going to do XYZ to help you stay organized. Maybe it's check in, check out at the end of the day. Maybe it's her teacher helping her organize her folder once a week. But this accommodation is not going to be, we're not going to present this to Mia as a negative thing. We're going to show her that this is going to help her achieve what she needs. It's very important for professionals and parents working with students to understand that our students with disability do not learn cause and effect the same way that people without disabilities do. So they may fail an assignment 500 times and still not learn that they've got to organize their backpack to turn in their work. Okay? It's very important to remember that. So we're going to describe the strategy. Mia's IEP team and family introduced role playing with her. So we're going to role play this. We're going to say, Mia, you're in math class and you're getting ready to take a test. What should you do? And we're going to write things down for Mia. Today's a math test day. Today I'll go to Mrs. Fairbanks's class to have my math test read to me. What do I need to do? I might need to signal to my teacher I'm leaving. I might need to put that post-it on my desk. I might need to email the teacher to say I'm going to go take this test. But it's doable. But we've got to role play these accommodations with Mia to make sure she understands how to use these accommodations. Because when Mia gets to college, mom doesn't get to call the professor and tell them that their son needs accommodations in his reading class because the professor is either going to not one answer mom's email or tell her that her son is an adult and needs to contact college services by himself. So true story, guys. That's what happens. So we're going to describe the action steps. So her school internship program. So anyway, we're going to describe action steps. So Mia, what happens after you ask to go to take a class, to go get your test read to, what happens afterwards. We're going to make sure Mia understands the whole process. This develops those skills for Mia to where she learns that this accommodation is helping her. It's not a punishment. And hopefully one day she'll be able to do it without the support of anybody else. We always want to share the outcomes with the whole team. So when we start to see that Mia's math scores are improving, we want to make sure we say, Mia, this is going great. You're doing great in math. You've passed all these tests, and share the successes with Mia, and also share with Mia, oh Mia, you struggled right here. Do you think maybe we should talk about doing this or this? So again, making sure and reinforcing that those accommodations, that Mia knows how to use those accommodations and how to ask for them. It's also sometimes hard for us individuals that have disabilities to know what kind of accommodations are going to be helpful. There's so many out there. If you Google best classroom accommodations for ADHD, you're going to get 900 pages of them. Always tell parents that we work with to make a checklist, go through there. Do I think this will help my student? Yes. Why? Highlight that why. Accommodations can be applied when they're reasonable. So highlighting that why or the because is very important. So, Mia needs her work organized for her with the support of a teacher because she doesn't know where to start. She gets overwhelmed, all these things. And we'll turn that accommodation into, we'll try to be less and less supportive with it to where she's doing it independently is the idea. Okay, Carrie.
And one thing with accommodations, like Abby said, you may not always know what is helpful. You think as a team and as a self-advocate that this may be the perfect accommodation for me. If it's not working, you can always revise those, or it may be helpful to even have discussions at your 504 meeting or IEP meeting to discuss what accommodations have been used. If they're not being used, why aren't they? Are they just not necessary? Can we remove those? Do we need to adjust them? But you can always have those conversations. Um, I'm going to talk about community resources. There are a lot of different resources in the community that can be helpful. Libraries and recreation centers can be very helpful. I know in our community, we have a recreation center that offers adapted or accommodated sports teams like baseball or softball that students or people with disabilities can participate in. Your library may have different clubs, activities. The library is a great community resource in our area if you need to use computers for the internet access, things like that. They're there. They have, just so many resources that are great to help individuals. There are disability specific service organizations like the ARC or Easter Seals. Look into what's available. There's different, transportation, things like that. You can look for job shadowing programs. So just an example, like if we want to talk about a family who identified a summer camp for children with disabilities. And if this family used the Charting the Life course integrated support star to kind of help them map out finding the perfect summer camp for children with disabilities. So the family's child is Liam. He loves being outdoors and making friends, but really struggled in typical camp settings due to sensory challenges and communication needs. So that family worked through that support star handout from Charting the Life course. They explored personal strengths like Liam's love for nature. They looked at relationships, family and friends who could recommend camps. They looked at community-based supports like local disability organizations. And they also looked at technology using online searches and virtual tours of the camps. So, you don't have to be always going in person to tour something. There are a lot of virtual tours and things available with technology now. So their outcome was that they were able to find a summer camp specifically designed for children with disabilities that offered sensory friendly activities and trained staff. And Liam, was able to go and participate, make new friends, and enjoy it. So again, Charting the Life course can really help you to navigate different options and map out what your choices may be and kind of help you organize your thoughts. All right, on to you, Abby, for extracurricular opportunities.
I'm on mute. Okay. Extracurricular opportunities. Sorry, guys. They're great because they build social skills. We have done several presentations in the past about utilizing extracurricular activities at school. So you can find that on our YouTube page. But things like sports teams, theater clubs, um, choir bands, even adaptive things like Special Olympics, these help our students learn a sense of community, and it helps our students set goals and find interests. So it's important to not think that just pass those over. I know we as parents of students with disabilities sometimes struggle to just do the day to day. I'm a prime example, but trying to help our students the best we can to find interest and out things outside of the household is can be crucial in their development. So, like I mentioned before, things like Scouts USA, Girl Scouts, 4-H, these are all inclusive organizations that have special departments set up to help our students with disabilities. For one, I work with Scouts USA, formerly Boy Scouts of America, and this has been my 12th year now, and I'm very proud that we have an inclusion department. So, talk about everybody gets those notes home in the air. Join Scouts or join 4-H or local basketball team. Don't be afraid to reach out to whoever is running that program and say, "Hey, I have a student with ADHD. They might need these accommodations, but I think they could maybe partake in the sport. They could maybe like it." That's worth a conversation if it helps our students learn more about their interests and their challenges that they have. So don't be afraid to reach out to local club sponsors or even talk to your principal. Hey, do you know about theater club? So my daughter's a senior. She literally has all her academic credits to graduate. We're just doing fill in the blank stuff of this last semester. She joined music theater. She is not a music person at all, but I am so tired of hearing about music theater and all the new friends she's making in music theater and all the things she's doing. So this opened up a very late opportunity for her to show this interest in like this. So And that was just a conversation. I contacted the director and said, okay, this is the support she may need. And he's like, bring it on. Let's do this. And she's really liked the program. Go ahead, Carrie.
All right, so we want to talk about parents' role in transition. So, it depends on the situation, things like that, where your student's at. You want to advocate for inclusive opportunities, maybe look for help your student recognize, what's available in the community through school, through extracurricular activities. We talked about from early on, you can try to foster independence at home. So, always looking to build on, in kindergarten, we were talking about giving choices for snacks. So, what kind of independence can you foster at home? I know sometimes, when you help your child so much, I think it can be hard to take a step back. Sometimes I even, find myself forgetting that I need to take a step back. Even I think yesterday or the day before, my daughter's like, "You don't get to make that decision for me." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I kind of just like went and did something and didn't even think about it." Not with bad intentions or anything, but you're always looking at, okay, how do I make that student independent and take those steps back and, not just jump in. Um, and then, teaching that student to kind of foster that independence in other settings as well, to be able to speak up and say, I can do that on my own. I don't need help in that area, maybe at work, school, things like that. And maintain open communication with educators, and whoever may be involved with your child.
So right here, you'll see this wonderful trajectory example here. Carrie and I did this a lot when becoming Charting the Life Course ambassadors. We did these plans a lot. And I know we haven't really pointed it out. We've talked about this before, but Charting the Life Course is a great tool to use to be student-centered or person-centered plan for all outcomes of life, no matter if your student's in preschool, kindergarten, fifth grade, fourth grade, doesn't matter. It's a great tool to have their plans be all about them. They put the I in the IEP is always my fun saying there. And so this shows a trajectory. So this talks about how a professional can help with the role of it in the transition plan. So Liam is the student that we're talking about today. He's communicated with his parents and guardians. They know that he loves to go on vacation. He loves to visit the hotel. He's obsessed with checking out every aspect of the hotel when he's there. So they know he has an interest in this. He's talked a lot about maybe working at the Hilton someday or working at the Marriott someday. He's very excited about this, the Ritz Carlton even. So this is a conversation that his teachers heard him have when she's asked him, especially transition related teacher, what job do you want to have someday? He's communicated this with her. So with using the trajectory tool, they've identified with Liam that he likes to interact with people and has a strong interest to work in a hotel. The professional working with Liam might map this out and identify the experience and skills he would need to work in the hospitality industry. So, like a part time job there, taking some online courses, maybe the local community college may even offer some things. The outcome would be through taking this type of course or through learning more about the hotel industry, he might come to realize this is not for me or this is for me. So he's like Carrie mentioned with her daughter, he's learning it by himself. I know me as a parent, if I tell my kid they can't do something or I won't do something with them, it just makes them want to do it more. So this helps Liam to identify for himself, what he's interested in and figuring out if that's for him or not once he gets it started. I know we're running out of time, Carrie, so go to the next one.
Okay, so we've kind of covered collaboration between parents and professionals, but I think some best practices are, having regular meetings or communication. I think communication is key. Um, and kind of you want to keep that student at the center of it. Remember, you're there for the student. But, I think it's always important if a goal is implemented in the IEP, it's important for the parents, student, and educators to all kind of be on the same page. There are things that families can do to promote progress on goals, especially like self-advocacy goals. You can work on those in the community with your child and really promote those. So, and sharing tools, if you're using like Charting the Life course, make sure families understand them, IEP teams understand them, um, share progress reports, communication logs, things like that. Just make sure there's open communication. So, and I think that really builds trust and relationships and takes things a long way. I will turn it over to you, Abby.
So as we know, tracking your students' progress after the team has sat down and completed the IEP is crucial to making sure that it's effective. It's no different with the transition plan. We need to make sure that the goals are outlined very clearly, and we have conversations with our students about working on those goals. Now, we want to put this in language that's very easy for everybody to understand. So I wouldn't come to Kira and say, well, I could because Kira's done a lot of IEP advocacy training, but I wouldn't come to Kira and say, are you 50% on the way to mastering your goal? I don't even want someone to say that to me. But I'm going to say, hey, Kira, how'd your job shadowing go this week? Do you really like working in that retail setting? I know you were nervous about it, but how do you feel about it now? So it's great. So this way we can monitor the progress there. I might check in next month with her teacher and say, hey, Kira's really told me that she struggles when she has to go to work at Walmart. She's really nervous about the register. What have you seen? Well, we know we have this goal to do XYZ, and I see that she's working towards mastering that. So, keeping up with your students' progress and talking about it very casually can be helpful. This is going to be a great skill for them when they move to more independent platform, because they can communicate this with their professor in college, or they can communicate this with their QIPD in a solo environment, or they can communicate it with their boss and say, hey, I know that you want me to be able to do this, this, and this. I'm doing great with this, but I see that I'm lagging in this area. So teaching our students about the importance of progress monitoring is crucial, and it can be very helpful so that you as a parent feel as much part of the team as possible. Go ahead, Carrie.
Okay, so transition in the IEP, there are really, a lot of key components. You look at post-secondary goals. What are that student's goals for after high school? And the whole goal of transition is to prepare, look at like what areas do we need to work on before that student's leaving high school and out in adult life. Look at transition services. What different services are available while the student's in school? What services does that student need to be connected to while they're still in high school as far as adult services? They need to know about Medicaid, Social Security, if those services are appropriate to them in adult life. They might want to know about their pass agency, things like that. And really looking at annual goals um, aligned with transition needs, writing goals to help that student prepare for exiting high school, taking steps to meet those goals between now and when they leave high school. And, again, Charting the Life course has great tools that can help you with that process. And again, you don't have to wait until 14 and a half to start preparing for transition. The transition plan won't be in the IEP until then. But you can start as early as preschool or kindergarten looking at how do we prepare that student and take steps to prepare them for that transition from high school to adult life.
So don't forget, as a professional, helping your student to prepare the best transition plan possible, don't forget to consider cultural considerations. So have respect for diverse families and have respect diverse values and goals, and involve extended family if appropriate. So, for example, a bilingual student who comes from a Latino background, the grandparents may be very involved with that process. Sometimes the grandparents maybe even live in the household. So consider them as natural supports, play them into the role. Same things with siblings, cousins, extended families, blended families. It's great to have the relationship with the parent when you're building this transition plan to understand what person has what role in the student's life. And Charting the Life course is a great worksheet to help you identify that. Go ahead, Carrie.
Okay, so I think it's important to understand transition, what your rights are, what guidelines, regulations, laws are out there. Um, you want to know what the IDEA or Individuals with Disabilities Education Act requirements are. You want to be familiar with ADA or Americans with Disabilities Act and Section 504 protections. There are a lot of great resources out there. You can look at the Illinois State Board of Education has a parent's guide that you can find on their website. It might even be accessible in ours as a resource. I can't remember,
Yes.
but it walks through different chapters on, there's a chapter on transition, things like that are really helpful. Rights law is also another great resource. So just keep those in mind. And I think it's always important to look for new tools and resources to help you learn and grow.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you can go ahead and take that poll. You also want to look at preparing for post-secondary success. So if a student wants to move on to college, look at college options. You can look at thinkcollege.net, I believe it is, with what college options are available in the state or in other states nearby, and look at vocational training, employment opportunities, looking at what that student wants after high school, working on independent living skills. Are there programs that are going to help a student prepare for living independently? Um,
So the All About Me, yeah, the All About Me document that's within the Charting the Life course is a version of a very small student portfolio. Carrie and I have actually been doing these for a long time here at Family Matters to help parents. So I recently did one for my son who has higher support needs. He's a non-speaking individual. So if he was lost in the community, if he had a medical emergency where myself or his staff couldn't be with him, what would happen? So we took this All About Me document and turned it into a QR code that now emergency personnel can scan, or a person in the community can scan with your QR code, and it pops up a fun page all about David, has a fun picture of him, and it talks about things like, I'm a non-speaking individual, but I really love YouTube. If you see that I'm scared or nervous, let me watch your phone. It has food allergies on there. It has that he has epilepsy and has frequent seizures, and what to do if he does have a seizure. So for a parent of a non-speaking individual, this All About Me page is great. This All About Me page can also be great to share with members of your IEP team, or even if your kiddo takes gen ed classes. I love it when teachers leave these on their desk for substitute teachers too, because it's really helpful. So to find out more about these All About Me documents, you can contact Family Matters and schedule an appointment with me and Carrie, and we can walk you through how to do the process.
Okay, so we've kind of covered this a little bit, but involving peers can be really helpful. When there's benefits to involving peers, you really build a support network, build relationships, you really encourage teamwork. And then, there are different peer mentorship programs through schools often, um, you know, classroom activities. If a student is involved or included in gen ed classes, then you could look at peer support, um, pairing up a student with a peer who could help teach them and guide them, um, and help them be involved in classroom activities. So, do you want to take this one, Abby?
Yeah, absolutely. So some challenges and solutions. So be be aware and know be add that there are going to be limitations and barriers that we have to cross to get our students to reach their goals. So be aware of the lack of awareness for the barrier and limited resources that you as a parent or your school staff could be facing. So don't always go into, if you have a request and the school says no, be ask for that justification, ask to why. Is there a community resource you could use to overcome this barrier? Um, Educate your families early and advocate for funding and programs as a professional. And don't forget, parents, as we find resources for our students and share this with our professional team, that opens up opportunities for other resources. So, for example, if your student will not drive, has no desire to drive, but wants to have a job after school, what community resource could you link up with for them to have transportation to and from that job? That particular thing opened the door for many students in my daughter's district. There are now several students utilizing public transportation to get back and forth to work, where that barrier always would have been, not open before. So the resources that you bring to the table could open the doors for other people. So if you are struggling to find certain resources in your community to help with these things, ask other parents. Ask other professionals. Call your parent center and say, "Do you know how we could overcome um, buying tools to be part of the welding department? Do you know of any programs that might help with that?" Ask those questions. Go ahead, Carrie.
Okay, so this just slide just provides resources that might be helpful. You can visit our website, the Illinois Department of Human Services, or the National Parent Center on Transition and Employment. Those are all helpful. There are some websites down here as well. You have access or will have access to this information. So we just encourage you to visit those. And then really just want to call you, a call to action. Just, definitely take those next steps as a self-advocate, as a parent or caregiver, as an educator, begin transition planning today. It's never too early or too late to start. So, you can schedule an IEP meeting, explore different community resources, things like that.
Carrie and I did make kind of a checklist document that's included in this shared drive, one where you can kind of start checking the boxes. Have I checked this, done this? You can make a copy of that and make it and turn it into your own. Have I called my local 4-H department to see if there's something there my daughter might like to do? Do I know who the Special Olympics coach is at my teacher? Do I know who the basketball coach is at my school? Because my son likes to play basketball. So you can edit that, make a copy of that document and edit it however you want to yourself. But we really enjoyed having you here today. At this time, we're going to stop the recording and we'll take just a few questions.